Welcome back to Lost Worlds. Let's jump right into the story without any delay. Troy was ash. Odysseus had survived 10 years of the deadliest war in the ancient world. He had his ships, his crew, and a clear sea between him and Ithaca. He should have been home in 2 weeks. He wasn't home for 10 years. Because on the way back from Troy, Odysseus made a mistake that gods remember forever. He blinded the Cyclops Polyphemus, son of Poseidon, god of the sea. And Poseidon, who controlled every ocean Odysseus had to cross, decided that Odysseus would suffer for it, for 10 years. Every time Odysseus came close to home, Poseidon sent storms, monsters, delays. The sea itself turned against him. This is the story of those 10 years. The Cyclops Polyphemus was the size of a small mountain. He didn't speak to Odysseus and his men. He simply picked up 2 of them and ate them, then went to sleep. Odysseus could have killed him right there. He didn't. If Polyphemus died, no one could move the boulder from the entrance and they'd all starve. He needed the Cyclops alive to let them out. So he came up with a plan. He got the Cyclops drunk on wine. When Polyphemus asked his name, Odysseus said, "Nobody." Then he drove the burning stake into the Cyclops' eye. Polyphemus rolled back the boulder to find his sheep, and Odysseus' men escaped, clinging to the undersides of the sheep's wool. They made it to the ships. Then Odysseus made the worst decision of the entire journey. He shouted back at the blinded Cyclops as they sailed away. "It was me, Odysseus, son of Laertes of Ithaca, who blinded you." Polyphemus prayed to Poseidon to curse him. Poseidon heard. That should have been the warning. Circe was a goddess, or a witch, depending on which ancient source you read. She lived alone on an island in a palace surrounded by lions and wolves that had once been men. When Odysseus' men arrived, she invited them in, fed them, gave them wine, and turned them into pigs. Odysseus came to rescue them. He was protected by a herb the god Hermes gave him. And when Circe's magic failed to work on him, she was curious enough to take him as a lover instead. He stayed for a year. His men were restored to human form. They feasted, rested, recovered from everything the sea had done to them. Then, it was his men who finally reminded him. They had been there a year. Ithaca was waiting. Circe gave him directions, but she told him first where he had to go before he could go home. He had to visit the dead. The land of the dead is one of the strangest things in all of ancient literature. Odysseus didn't descend into the underworld. He went to its threshold, a place at the edge of the world, perpetually in twilight, and he waited. The dead came to the blood, old companions from the war, men he had watched die on the walls of Troy. The great Ajax, who refused to speak to him, still furious about a quarrel over Achilles' armor that had driven Ajax to madness and suicide. He met the shade of Achilles, who told him something that stopped Odysseus cold. "I would rather be the lowest slave among the living than the king of all the dead." The greatest warrior who ever chose glory over long life, saying that he made the wrong choice. Then Odysseus saw something in the dark that made him flee. He didn't wait to find out what it was. The Sirens were not mermaids. Ancient descriptions vary, but what they agreed on was the voice. A sound so beautiful that sailors steered directly toward it, unable to stop, and drove their ships onto the rocks. The island was surrounded by the bones and rotting flesh of every crew that had ever come close. Odysseus had been warned. He had a plan. He had his men fill their ears with wax. He had himself lashed to the mast. And then they sailed straight past the island. Homer never tells us what the sirens were singing. Odysseus heard it. He survived it. He never talked about it. There was no good way through the Strait of Messina. On one side, Charybdis, a whirlpool that swallowed ships whole 3 times a day, then spat the wreckage back up. If they sailed too close to it, all of them would die. On the other side, Scylla, a monster with 6 heads, each on a long neck, that reached down from the cliff and snatched sailors off the deck of passing ships. 1 head, 1 sailor, 6 heads, 6 sailors. Circe had told him, choose Scylla. You will lose 6 men. If you choose Charybdis, you lose everyone. He chose Scylla. 6 of his men were eaten alive in front of the rest of the crew. Odysseus described it later as the worst thing he ever witnessed. Worse than anything in 10 years of war. Because his men were calling his name as they died, reaching toward him. And there was nothing he could do. He had already made the right decision. Tiresias, the prophet, had warned him. Circe had warned him. The message was the same. Do not touch the cattle of Helios on the island of Thrinacia. Those are the sun god's sacred herds. If you eat them, you will not reach home. Your ship will be destroyed, and all your men will die. Odysseus made his men swear an oath not to touch the cattle. They were stranded on the island for a month. Contrary winds, no way to sail, their provisions running out. Then Odysseus fell asleep. When he woke up and smelled the cooking meat, he already knew. The cattle had been slaughtered. He walked to the shore and looked at the sea, and reportedly said nothing at all. They sailed when the winds allowed. Zeus destroyed the ship with a lightning bolt in the middle of the ocean. Every man died, every man except Odysseus. The goddess Calypso found him on the wreckage. She brought him to her island, Ogygia. She healed him, fed him, loved him, and she kept him for 7 years. Calypso was not cruel. She genuinely loved him. She even offered him something no mortal had ever been offered: immortality. Stay with me, she said, and you will never die. He said no. Every day, 7 years, he sat on the shore and cried for home. Finally, the gods intervened. Athena petitioned Zeus, who sent Hermes to order Calypso to release him. She was furious. She was heartbroken. She let him go. She even helped him build a raft. After 7 years on a paradise island, Odysseus set out on a homemade raft. No crew, no ship, just a raft, a sail, and the stars to navigate by. Poseidon saw him and sent one final storm, as if to say, I haven't forgotten you. The raft was destroyed. Odysseus was thrown into the sea. A sea goddess took pity on him and gave him a veil to keep him afloat. He swam. For 2 days and 2 nights, he swam. He washed up on the island of Scheria, home of the Phaeacians, a people so favored by the gods that their ships sailed on their own and always found their destination. He was found by the king's daughter, Nausicaa, doing laundry by the river. He was given food, clothing, a ship, and a crew. For the first time in 10 years, he was going home with the gods' blessing and a proper vessel under him. He slept the whole way. When he woke up, the Phaeacians had carried him ashore and left. He was on a beach he didn't recognize until the mist cleared. The journey was over. The hardest part was about to begin.